Unconscious bias is often seen as a topic that can be easily dealt with on a Friday afternoon when there's nothing else to do. But this is a misconception. Unconscious bias deals with the social, cognitive, and emotional roots of prejudice and how they go on to shape our society and underpin structural inequalities. Unconscious bias is a challenging and at times uncomfortable topic because it asks us to question norms and practices that have become second nature to us. To question them can feel counterintuitive. So if we really want to deal with unconscious bias, we need to take a critical look at some of our behaviors and change them. And that's not the most suitable subject for a relaxing Friday afternoon. First of all, unconscious bias causes us to pigeonhole the world around us. And worse still, it ensures that these pigeonholes become smaller and smaller. This has to do with confirmation bias, which ensures that we only see information that confirms our own view of the world, including all its biases. So on a daily basis, we diligently collect information that confirms what we think we already know. Over time, this develops into a kind of tunnel vision, and we only recognize and acknowledge information that already fits our worldview. Our perception narrows and we start to block out information that contradicts it. This in turn has a negative effect on our decisions. If we blank out relevant information because it does not fit into my existing worldview, I do not have a balanced overall picture to help me make decisions. To optimize the decision-making process, different perspectives that draw attention to overlooked problems and possible solutions are necessary. But this is precisely what unconscious bias prevents. Due to our tunnel vision, we consider problems that don't directly concern us less relevant. As a result, we don't pay them the necessary attention. Working in research, we use scientific methods that can help us avoid confirmation bias and other distortions as much as possible. But not all of our decisions and interactions take place in such a controlled manner. After all, researchers are also supervisors and employees in teams and projects, work in organizations and at workplaces, attend events, give lectures, delegate tasks, or teach. In doing so, we constantly make small and large decisions, usually without the headspace and time to adequately reflect on each one. But unconscious bias not only leads to tunnel vision and sometimes poor decisions, it also leads to exclusion and discrimination, especially when the brain falls back onto deeply rooted social biases. For example, biases related to gender roles or external characteristics such as skin and hair color. Unconscious bias weighs particularly heavily in organizational practices like application and promotion processes, but it is also notable in leadership more generally. For example, when it comes to such decisions as who do I promote, who do I see, and who do I overlook, or who ends up most of the time with thankless and less prestigious tasks. Arguing that such things just happen and that there's no malicious intent behind them is no excuse. After all, accidental discrimination has exactly the same effects as overt discrimination. As we have seen, unconscious bias affects many areas of our lives. It affects who we turn towards and who we trust, but also who we exclude and discriminate against. And this turning towards and away is not as individual or as personal as we like to believe, but it is strongly connected to social power structures. That is why bias alone is not necessarily discrimination. They are closely related but not identical. Bias leads to discriminatory actions when I'm in a position of power because of my social position. So the equation is rather simple. Bias plus power equals discrimination.